Hello and welcome to the part 5 of the Sämisch Gambit in the King's Indian defense. So today we continue studying the C5 variation discovered by David Bronstein. D4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, bishop g7, e4, d6, f3, short castling, bishop e3 and c7, c5. So black is sacrificing a pawn for positional compensation, since white knight on g1 doesn't have any good square except of e2. Black would reach the control over the dark squares and could create quite unpleasant threats against white's king. So this is a critical position of the gambit line, and as I explained on my previous lesson, that for a while, thanks to the force of world champion Anatoly Karpov, who just very successfully played this opening line with white against a Yugoslavian player in 1976, so which continued knight d5, and after knight takes d5, c takes d5, bishop takes b2 and rook b1. So this line we studied last time. So white achieved quite serious initiative and won the game quite easy. However, as you know already, that knight d7 resource was discovered, and this position gives black just very good alternatives for the counterplay. So that's why in 1986 Ronnie Gunevan against Boris Gelfand in Minsk International Tournament played quite solid knight e2 move. So instead going on knight d5, so he played immediately knight e2, and after knight d7 moved his bishop on e3, trying to keep control over the dark squares. So the idea is quite easy to understand. Instead, in case of b6, white simply plays long castling, and for black is quite difficult to organize serious counterplay. White is just simply extra pawn. So black almost forced to play knight to e5 instead of b6, so also controlling the d file, also threatening to move the knight on d3 as well. Pawn on c4 is under attack. White played knight f4, knight b4, new threat, knight c2 check. White played king f2, and after another interesting move, bishop e6, black achieved really strong counterplay. So the point is of this move that after knight takes e6 and f takes e6, almost no way for white to stop knight d3 and then knight takes b2. So black's dark square bishop is extremely strong. So black is achieving at least equal game, at least. So white played knight c2 d5, bishop takes d5, knight takes d5, knight c2, intermediate move, rook c1, knight takes e3. So the problem is that if white recaptures with a knight, black rook just comes into the white's camp, rook d2. So next move is rook takes b2. So black is just having very strong position with the material equal game, and it almost forced white to play king takes e3 and then e6. So the knight is under attack. Knight f4, bishop h6, and now white is just under new threats, g5, or just knight goes away and then e5. So white almost forced to play knight c3, bishop h6 check, f4, and for a second it looks like